Hi, I'm Scott Ferrell. Got a question this week I wanted to address real fast here. People ask me all the time, why don't kids know how to act in public? Or parents will ask me, why don't they know how to act? And it's a good question. All right, so let's back this up. Do people need to be instructed on how to do something? Let's think about a job. My first formal job was at Bojangles. God, I think I was 15 in Charlotte. They had to teach me how to fry chicken their way. I knew how to fry chicken, not their way. Run the register, fill drinks the way they wanted them done, sweep the floor the way they wanted it done. Every single thing at Bojangles had a way they needed it done, and they taught me how to do it. Kids. Do kids come out of the womb knowing how to do everything? Well, no. We learn from experience. We learn from experience of our outside world. We learn from watching our mom, dad, aunts, uncle, grandma, and grandpa do things. I learned how to cook because my grandparents taught me and my dad taught me. I learned how to farm, grandpa's and my dad. I learned how to clean the house, same thing. So why do we think kids know how to act when they go out in the public? I have a principle that I've used for my whole life. Plus, I used to be a teacher and I used to be a special education teacher. We practiced everything we did before we went into the public, especially with my class. All right, how do we get on the bus? How do we talk to the driver? How do we get our tickets? How do we clean a room? How do we wash dishes? How do we do our laundry? How do we act when we go out in the public? When are we quiet? When is it okay to talk? How do we treat individuals? When do we speak to people? All these things. I just wrote out every single thing a human needs to know about being in public. Then I took that and I broke it down into steps, because you got to remember our class's IQ range was some days 25, and then as we worked way up, some of our kids' IQ is about 55, 60. All right, if a kid with a 25 IQ can be well-mannered in public, anybody's kid can, right? And we had to break this down. So break it down. So mom, dad, when you go out to a restaurant, rehearse the behaviors that are desired before you go. I always tell people, the way they're acting in a restaurant is how they act at home. We don't separate. If you're gonna do it out in public, you've already done it in private. So rehearse. All right, how do we act when we go to public? Just like I used to do with my own kids in class. All right, when are we quiet? Okay, when we go out today, here's what we're gonna do. Walk through all the steps. We're gonna catch the bus. We're gonna go to this restaurant. This is what we're gonna do. Here's how we order food. Here's how we act when we're there. And then we can talk when we get back outside. And we practice it, and we practice it. I used to be a high school basketball coach. What I wanted them to do in the game, we had to practice before we got to the game, or we weren't gonna do it. Same thing here in life. You gotta practice. Before you go on a sales call, you practice every single objection you're ever going to get. You're going to practice your response to that objection. So why don't we do it with our kids? For some reason, we think kids learn through osmosis. Well, they don't. They have to be taught. So if you want well-mannered kids that know how to act in public, you have to practice and practice and drill and practice some more. And then what you end up with, a well-mannered child goes on to make so much more money, so many more friends, and fall in love with the right person. That's how you do it. Now, I do a whole seminar on this, but I only want to take a few minutes to address this. And my goal is to help you make your kids something wonderful, and that your kids go on to do something spectacular in life. All right, I'm Scott Ferrell. If you have any questions for me, scottferrell.com. Let me spell it. SCOTFERRELL.com. I'll see you next time.